Debt snowball? Debt avalanche? Which one is going to be more effective if you are looking to pay off your debt? Hey guys, my name is Jackie from the Financial Literacy Tribe. How you doing? We are jumping into this topic today. As you guys know, I started out with $90,000 in debt myself and have been able to, over the course of about 2 years, whittle it down to $55,000, which is how much it is that I have solely in student loans right now, and I am working my little booty off to try to pay that off as well. But so I'm not a stranger to debt. Most Americans, I would find, are not a stranger to debt, especially nowadays in these hard times. So the question becomes, what is the best and most effective method in terms of eradicating your debt? Is it the ever popular debt snowball, made popular by my guy, Dave Ramsey? Or is it the debt avalanche? Let us discuss and jump right in. So if you are unfamiliar with what the debt snowball is, as mentioned, it is a topic coined by the very popular Dave Ramsey, who is a personal finance personality here within the US. And basically it consists of taking your debts, all of your debts, specifically as mentioned, consumer debt, high interest debt, all of your credit cards, all of your student loans, all of your personal loans, all of your auto loans, anything that's basically not a mortgage in his opinion, listing them in order of amount. So definitely if you have a credit card that has $500 in terms of a balance, that's going to be at the top of your list versus the largest debt that you have, which is maybe you have $25,000 in student loans. That would be at the very bottom of the list. So you're going to list all of your debts from smallest to largest in terms of quantity, how much it is that you owe. That's the very first step. If you're doing the debt snowball, then what you're going to want to do is, and Dave is very vocal about his opinions on this, but he basically feels like you should be, I think his exact words, and I hope it's not copywritten, I doubt that it is, but he believes that you should be living a scorched earth lifestyle, which is basically you get to have no fun, no going out to eat, no going out with friends, no spending money. You should be literally paying your bills that you're required to pay, and literally with every spare penny that you can squeeze out of your paycheck, get a second job if you need to. Get a fourth job. Sell the dog. Do whatever it is that you have to do in order to generate extra income. And with every spare dollar that is not going toward a required bill, you are going to pay off all of those debts, starting with the smallest one. And that is the key in this particular strategy of his, is if you have this one bill and it's a $500 credit card bill and that's the smallest debt that you have, pay it out fully, knock it out. All of your resources should go towards paying off that one smallest debt. And then once you have paid off that one smallest debt, guess what? All of your resources now are all going to go to your second smallest debt. Knock that out, finish it up, and then you move on. So you're basically knocking out all of your debts from smallest to largest by putting everything that you got into paying it off. That is the strategy of the debt snowball. Okay? In comparison now, the debt avalanche, which he's not a big fan of, but there's a lot of other personal finance personalities that do prefer the debt avalanche method, is a little bit different, because you're still going to list all of your debts the same way that you did with the other method. But with this particular method, what you're going to do is you're also going to take note of the interest rate, right? So how much it is that you are paying interest rate. The debt avalanche method says that you should be paying off your debt depending on which debts have the highest interest rate. So you're going to pay off the ones with the higher interest rate first. So it does not matter about how much it is that you have on that credit card or how much it is that you have in that auto loan. It's whichever one has the higher interest rate first. That's what you should be working toward, because statistically and mathematically, if you can knock out the higher interest rate debts first, then ultimately at the end of the day, you're going to be saving money because you're not going to have to pay that very high interest rate versus a different debt where maybe they're only charging you 6% or 5% or a very low interest rate. So you're doing it in order of highest interest rate first, and you're paying off those debts first. That is what a debt avalanche is. In terms of which one of these is better, I think it really just depends on your circumstances and your personality type, right? Dave is a real advocate for the debt snowball because he feels like a lot of times paying off debt, it's not fun, right? It's not a fun experience. It's not easy to do, but there's almost like a high that you get as you're able to knock off those debts. So starting with a smaller number first and completely eradicating it is going to give you a nice boost, a very satisfying high almost, that's going to encourage you to continue. Versus with the actual debt avalanche, you know, maybe I'm starting with the higher interest rate first, but the balance on that credit card, even though it has a higher interest rate, the balance may be, I don't know, $10,000. How long do you think it's going to take me to pay off that $10,000 credit card, right? Versus the little $500 debt. So it's going to take me a lot longer. And in that process, I may get discouraged. I may get frustrated. Something may come up and I have to allocate my resources to something else. There's a million things that can happen. And so there's a higher likelihood that you're just going to fizzle out and just end up not doing it. So that's the difference. There's a very clear psychological difference between people who do the one versus the other. With the debt snowball, like I said, it's all mental. You feel good. You just paid off a whole entire credit card at the beginning of your journey in one sitting, knocked it out nice and quick, and now you're on to the next one. Knock that one out, and now you're on to the next one. You're on a roll, right? So it's very psychological versus the other one. It may be more challenging because, as I mentioned, okay, the interest rate is very high and I do want to get rid of it, but if the balance is very high, it's going to take me a really long time. The other thing too with the debt snowball versus the debt avalanche is with the debt snowball, one of the key aspects of it is as you're paying off those debts, the money that you would have been putting toward the payments for it is contributing toward the resources that you're using to pay off your debt. So as I had mentioned, I knocked out that $500 credit card. It was the very first thing. Now that $25 a month that I was putting toward that credit card payment, now that gets to help pay off the other remaining debts that I have. So it kind of builds. The amount that you're able to dedicate towards debt repayment, it grows and it gets bigger and it gets bigger, like a snowball. Oh, I get it now. I get it. So as mentioned, I think both of these strategies are great. I think you really just need to sit down and look at your particular circumstances and just see what would work best for you. In some cases, I will tell you guys, I will give you a little insider scoop. For my situation, I told you 2 years ago, I started out with $90,000 in debt. It just so happened that I was able to kind of do both of these at the exact same time, which is, I don't know if that's rare or not. So definitely if you also were doing the debt snowball, but it also happened to work out as a debt avalanche at the same time, let me know in the comments because I would be interested to know. But for me, it just so happened that I had smaller balances on my credit cards, but those also happened to have been the higher interest rates. So it's like I was doing both at the same time. I was knocking out the high interest rate and the smaller balance at the same time and then moving down. So I kind of ended up doing both, you know, and it felt really good and it worked out really well for me. But definitely I would encourage you that no matter which one it is that you choose, I support you. Kudos to you. Continue doing it because debt is just not fun. It's not great to have that burden on your shoulders, and it feels so good once you're able to just free yourself of debt and be debt free. So I support you in your journey. I hope that you support me in mine. As mentioned, I still got student loans, which is at the bottom of my list because it's a larger balance and it also had the lowest interest rate. You see? So that's what I'm working on right now. And if you do support me, be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you can be notified every time I have a new video up. We can support each other. We can do this together. No probs. Be sure to like this video if you found it to be helpful, and be sure to check out my blog if you want additional content similar to what we talked about today. And that can be found at focusedfrugalfab.com. And I will see you guys soon. Bye!